They thought I would stay silent forever. My name is Elena Volkov, and the night they hurt me, I was 23 years old, working as a financial analyst at Meridian Holdings in Chicago. I was good at my job. Too good, apparently. I discovered something I wasn't supposed to see. Offshore accounts, shell corporations, money laundering operations hidden inside legitimate real estate deals. The Constantine family, one of Chicago's most powerful organized crime syndicates, had been using Meridian Holdings to clean millions. I made the mistake of mentioning it to my supervisor, thinking I was doing the right thing. 3 days later, 4 men grabbed me outside my apartment building. They drove me to an abandoned warehouse on the south side. Dmitry Constantine, the family's eldest son, was waiting there with 2 of his enforcers. "You saw something that doesn't concern you," Dmitry said, his voice cold and calm. "Now you have a choice. Forget what you saw, or we make sure you can't remember anything ever again." I was terrified, but I tried to stand firm. "I won't say anything. I promise. Just let me go." Dmitry smiled. It was the cruelest smile I'd ever seen. "Unfortunately, Miss Volkov, your promise isn't good enough." What happened next, I won't describe in detail, but they made sure I understood what happens to people who threaten the Constantine family. When they were done, they dumped me in an alley 3 blocks from my apartment. "If you go to the police," Dmitry whispered before they left, "we'll find your mother in Milwaukee. We'll find your little sister at Northwestern. We know everything about you, Elena. Stay silent, and they stay safe." I believed him. So I stayed silent. For 3 days after the attack, I didn't leave my apartment. I called in sick to work. I didn't answer my phone. I sat in my bathtub fully clothed, shaking, trying to decide what to do. Going to the police felt impossible. The Constantine family had connections everywhere. Cops, judges, politicians. And even if I found honest officers, Dmitry's threat against my family was real. My mother was a 60-year-old widow living alone. My sister Anna was a 19-year-old college sophomore with her whole life ahead of her. I couldn't risk them. But I also couldn't stay in Chicago. Every street corner felt dangerous. Every shadow could be one of Dmitry's men watching, making sure I kept quiet. On the 4th day, I made a decision. I wouldn't run away forever. But I needed time. Time to heal. Time to think. Time to become someone who couldn't be threatened anymore. I withdrew all my savings, about $14,000. I wrote a resignation letter to Meridian Holdings citing personal family emergency. I packed 1 suitcase with essentials. Then I called my mother. "Mom, I need you to trust me. Don't ask questions right now. Just take Anna and go visit Aunt Marie in Toronto for 2 weeks. Tell no one where you're going. It's important." My mother heard something in my voice. "Elena, what happened?" "I can't explain yet. Please, just go. I'll call you when you're there." She agreed, thank God. Once I knew they were safe, I bought a bus ticket to Seattle under a fake name I'd purchased from someone I met online. I left my phone in a dumpster, cut my long dark hair short and dyed it blonde. Wore glasses I didn't need. When the bus pulled out of Chicago at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday night, I watched the city lights fade in the distance. The Constantine family probably thought I was running scared, broken, defeated. They were wrong. I wasn't running. I was preparing. Seattle became my hiding place and my transformation. I rented a tiny studio apartment in a quiet neighborhood under the name Emma Larson. I got a job as a waitress at a seafood restaurant. Honest work, cash tips, no questions asked. For the first month, I barely functioned. The trauma from that night consumed me. Nightmares every time I closed my eyes. Panic attacks when men walked too close to me on the street. Days where I couldn't stop crying. But slowly, something changed inside me. The fear began transforming into something else. Something colder. Harder. Anger. I started researching the Constantine family obsessively. Every news article. Every business filing. Every public record I could find online. Dmitry Constantine ran the family's legitimate business operations, real estate development, construction companies, restaurant chains. His younger brother Alexei handled the street-level criminal operations. Their father Victor was semi-retired but still held ultimate authority. The family was powerful, connected, and seemingly untouchable. But everyone has weaknesses. I just needed to find theirs. I enrolled in online courses using my waitressing money, cybersecurity, digital forensics, financial crime investigation. I studied 8 hours a day on top of working full-time. I learned how to access public records databases, how to track shell corporations, how to trace money flows through complex financial structures. I learned how to become invisible online, how to use VPNs, encrypted communications, anonymous browsing. I was building skills, building knowledge, building myself into someone dangerous. 6 months after arriving in Seattle, I contacted my mother and sister. I told them I was safe, but couldn't come home yet. I sent them money monthly from untraceable sources. Anna asked me what happened. I told her I'd explain everything when the time was right. That time wasn't yet. I needed to be stronger first. 2 years after leaving Chicago, I was ready to take the first step. I'd spent those years building an entirely new identity, education, skills, resources, connections. I had online degrees in forensic accounting and cybersecurity. I had $50,000 saved from careful investments and side work doing freelance, digital security consulting. More importantly, I had information. Through careful research and some risky digital infiltration, I'd mapped out the Constantine family's entire financial empire. I knew which businesses were fronts, which accounts were used for laundering, which politicians and police officers were on their payroll. I knew everything, but information alone wasn't enough. I needed leverage. I needed allies. I needed a plan that would destroy them completely without putting my family at risk. That's when I found Marcus Webb. Marcus was an investigative journalist in Chicago who'd written several articles about organized crime. He tried to expose the Constantine family 3 years earlier, but couldn't get enough solid evidence. The story died. I contacted him through an encrypted email account. Mr. Webb, I have information about the Constantine crime family. Detailed financial records, money laundering operations, offshore accounts. Enough to bring them down. Are you interested? He responded within an hour. Who is this? How did you get this information? Someone they hurt. Someone they thought would stay quiet forever. Meet me in Seattle next Tuesday. I'll prove I'm legitimate. Marcus flew to Seattle. We met in a public park. I wore a disguise, wig, sunglasses, different clothing style. I showed him samples of what I had. Bank transfer records, corporate filing documents, recordings of conversations I'd intercepted digitally. His eyes went wide. This is incredible. How did you get all this? Does it matter? The courts will want to know chain of custody, whether it was obtained legally. Most of it is public record, if you know where to look. Some of it came from sources who want to remain anonymous. But it's all verifiable. That's what matters. Marcus studied me carefully. Why now? Why wait 2 years? Because I needed to be smart, not emotional. Revenge served hot gets you killed. Revenge served cold destroys empires. He understood. What do you want from me? He asked. I want you to write the story. I want you to work with law enforcement, the feds, not local Chicago cops. I want you to make sure this gets national attention so the Constantine family can't make it disappear. And what do you get? I smiled coldly. I get to watch them lose everything. Marcus and I worked together for 6 months, building the case carefully. He connected with FBI agents who'd been trying to build a RICO case against the Constantine family for years but lacked sufficient evidence. I provided that evidence, anonymously, through Marcus. Financial transaction records showing patterns of money laundering. Corporate documents proving shell company ownership. Digital communications I'd intercepted showing coordination between family members. The FBI was skeptical at first. How do we know this source is reliable? They asked Marcus. Because I've verified everything independently, Marcus replied. Every document checks out. Every transaction is real. This person knows exactly how the Constantine operation works. The lead FBI agent, Catherine Torres, was sharp and determined. She understood what I was giving them was gold. "We need to meet the source," she insisted. Marcus looked at me. We were on an encrypted video call. "No," I said firmly. "Not yet. Maybe not ever. You have what you need. Use it. We might need testimony. Then you'll have to build the case without it. I've given you the roadmap. Follow it." Agent Torres wasn't happy, but she accepted it. The evidence was too good to ignore. Over the next 4 months, the FBI built their case. They got warrants. They started surveillance. They coordinated with the IRS, the Treasury Department, and Interpol for the international money laundering aspects. Marcus kept me updated on everything. "They're moving carefully," he told me during one call. "Building an airtight case. Torres says they'll probably move within 60 days. Good. What about the story? I'm ready to publish the moment arrests happen. Front page. Full expose. Everything." I felt satisfaction for the first time in years. The trap was set. Soon, the Constantine family would fall. The FBI raids happened on a Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. Simultaneous operations at 17 locations, homes, businesses, offices. Over 100 federal agents. Search warrants for financial records, computer systems, everything. Dmitry Konstantin was arrested at his luxury penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan. Alexei was grabbed at his girlfriend's apartment. Victor was taken from his estate in the suburbs. Dozens of associates, enforcers, and corrupt officials were also arrested. Marcus's story hit the Chicago Tribune website at 9 a.m. Constantine crime family empire crumbles. FBI arrests dozens in massive organized crime takedown. The article was devastating. Marcus laid out the entire operation. The money laundering, the shell companies, the offshore accounts, the violence, the corruption. He included details only someone with inside knowledge could know. The story went national within hours. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, everyone picked it up. I watched the coverage from my Seattle apartment, feeling something I hadn't felt in 2 years. Power. Not the sick power of violence and threats. The clean power of justice and truth. But I wasn't done yet. The arrests were just the beginning. The trial would be the real reckoning. The Constantine family's lawyers immediately went to work. High-powered defense attorneys. Motions to suppress evidence. Challenges to warrant validity. The full legal arsenal that money can buy. But the FBI case was solid. Agent Torres had built it carefully, and my evidence made it bulletproof. The trial was scheduled to begin 8 months after the arrests. As the date approached, Marcus contacted me. "Elena, they know someone gave us the information. They're trying to find you. Constantine's lawyers have private investigators searching. Let them search. They're looking for a scared girl who disappeared 2 years ago. That person doesn't exist anymore. Still, you should be careful." I'm always careful. But Marcus's warning made me think. If I wanted complete revenge, if I wanted the Constantine family to know exactly who destroyed them, I needed to be there. At the trial. In person. It was risky. But the symbolism mattered. I wanted Dmitry Konstantin to see my face when his world collapsed. I wanted him to know that the girl he'd terrorized had become the woman who destroyed him. 2 weeks before the trial, I made my decision. I was going back to Chicago. Not as Elena Volkov, the frightened analyst. As someone new. Someone stronger. Someone they would never see coming. I returned to Chicago 3 days before the trial began. I looked nothing like the Elena Volkov who'd left 2 years earlier. My hair was darker now, styled differently. I wore professional clothing, tailored suits, expensive glasses, confident posture. I'd gained weight in healthy ways, built muscle through regular exercise. More than physical changes, I carried myself differently. No fear. No hesitation. I moved like someone who owned the space around her. I checked into a hotel under my legal name, Elena Volkov. If the Constantine family was searching databases, I wanted them to know I was here. I wanted them scared. The trial began on a Monday morning at the federal courthouse downtown. The courtroom was packed. Media, law enforcement, family members of victims, curious observers. The Constantine family sat at the defense table with their legal team. Victor looked old and angry. Alexei looked nervous. Dmitri looked arrogant, like he still believed money and connections would save him. I sat in the public gallery, 5 rows back. For the first hour of proceedings, none of them noticed me. Then, during a break, Dmitri's eyes swept across the courtroom and locked onto my face. I saw the exact moment recognition hit. His expression shifted from boredom to confusion to shock to rage in seconds. He grabbed his lawyer's arm, whispering urgently, pointing at me. The lawyer looked. Several other family members looked. I smiled at them. Calm. Cold. Dmitri half stood, but his lawyer pulled him back down, hissing warnings. Security was heavy. He couldn't do anything here. And we both knew it. The prosecution's case was methodical and devastating. Financial experts testified about money laundering patterns. FBI agents described surveillance operations. Forensic accountants walked the jury through complex financial transactions that all pointed to one conclusion. The Constantine family was a criminal enterprise. But the prosecution's most powerful evidence came from my research. Documents showing shell company ownership. Bank records proving illegal transactions. Digital communications proving coordination. The defense lawyers tried attacking the evidence's credibility. Where did this information come from? They demanded. How do we know it wasn't fabricated? The prosecution had prepared for this. Your Honor, the evidence in question has been thoroughly verified by multiple independent experts. Bank records have been confirmed by the banks themselves. Corporate filings match state and federal databases. This information is authentic, and its source is protected. We have a right to confront our accuser, the defense attorney shouted. The judge was unmoved. The evidence speaks for itself. If you can prove it's inauthentic, do so. Otherwise, your objection is overruled. During the lunch break on day 3, I went to a coffee shop near the courthouse. Dmitri's lawyer found me there. Miss Volkov, he said, sitting down uninvited. We need to talk. No, we don't. My client wants to know what you want. Money? Protection? Name your price. I looked at him with contempt. Tell your client there is no price. Tell him some things can't be bought or threatened away. Tell him that the girl he hurt became the woman who destroyed him. And tell him I'll be in that courtroom every single day, watching him lose everything. The lawyer's face hardened. You're making a mistake. No, your client made the mistake. I'm just the consequence. The trial lasted 6 weeks. I attended every day, sitting in the same spot, making sure Dmitri and his family saw me. The prosecution called 93 witnesses. The evidence filled hundreds of exhibits. The case was overwhelming. The defense tried everything, attacking credibility, suggesting conspiracies, claiming business decisions were misunderstood rather than criminal. None of it worked. The jury saw through it all. On the final day of testimony, the prosecution called a surprise witness. Agent Catherine Torres took the stand. Agent Torres, the prosecutor asked, can you tell the court about the anonymous source who provided crucial evidence in this case? 2 years ago, we were contacted through an investigative journalist. The source provided detailed financial records and evidence of the Constantine family's criminal operations. This information was instrumental in building our case. Do you know the identity of the source? We do now, yes. My heart stopped. What was she doing? Can you share that information with the court? Agent Torres looked directly at me. The source is Elena Volkov. She's a former financial analyst who discovered the Constantine family's money laundering operations while working at Meridian Holdings. When she attempted to report it, she was abducted, assaulted, and threatened by members of the Constantine family. Rather than staying silent, she spent 2 years gathering evidence to bring them to justice. The courtroom erupted. The defense lawyers jumped up, objecting loudly. Dmitri's face went purple with rage. The judge banged his gavel. Order. Order in this court. I sat frozen, shocked that my identity had been revealed. But then I understood. Agent Torres had just made me a hero instead of a hidden source. She'd put my courage on the record. She'd made it impossible for the Constantine family to touch me without proving everything the prosecution claimed. It was brilliant. After Agent Torres's testimony, the defense requested a recess to deal with this new information. The judge denied it. The source's identity doesn't change the validity of the evidence. Proceed. The defense had no response. They rested their case the next day. Closing arguments were scheduled for the following Monday. That weekend, I received a message on my hotel room phone. Miss Volkov, this is Dmitry Konstantin. We need to speak. Please meet me at Millennium Park tomorrow at 2 p.m. Come alone. It wasn't a request. It was a command. The old Elena would have been terrified. Would have called police. Gone into hiding. The new Elena saw an opportunity. I called Agent Torres. Dmitry Konstantin just asked to meet me. I assume you're monitoring his communications? We are. We heard the message. Absolutely do not meet him. What if I wear a wire? What if we can get him to confess? To threaten me again? Too dangerous. But potentially case-ending. Let me do this. Agent Torres was quiet for a long moment. I'll need to discuss this with my superiors. If, and this is a big if, we allow this, you'll have a full surveillance team watching. Any sign of danger, we extract you immediately. Understood. The next day, wearing a concealed recording device and surrounded by invisible FBI surveillance, I walked into Millennium Park at exactly 2 p.m. Dmitry was waiting by the Crown Fountain, alone as I'd been instructed. He looked older than his 38 years. Prison had been hard on him, even with his family's resources making it as comfortable as possible. Elena, he said when I approached. You've caused quite a problem. Good. His jaw tightened. I underestimated you. That was my mistake. Yes, it was. But here's what you need to understand. Even if we're convicted, we have resources, connections, money hidden where you'll never find it. We can wait. And when we get out, whether that's 5 years or 10 years or 20, we remember our enemies. It was a threat, clear and recorded. I smiled. You think I'm afraid of you, Dmitry? After everything I've done, I've spent 2 years destroying your empire piece by piece. I've taken everything from you. Your money, your power, your freedom, your reputation. What exactly do you think you can do to me now? Everyone has weaknesses, Elena. Everyone has people they care about. If you or anyone in your family goes near my mother or sister, that recording I gave the FBI of you ordering a hit on Councilman Harper will mysteriously get leaked to every media outlet in the country. Right now, that recording is inadmissible in this trial due to technical legal issues. But I promise you, Dmitry, I have insurance policies you haven't even imagined. His face went pale. You're bluffing. Try me. We stared at each other for a long moment. Finally, Dmitry looked away. You've won this round, Elena. Congratulations. Not a round, Dmitry. The game. I've won the entire game. I walked away, leaving him standing alone by the fountain. The closing arguments were powerful on both sides. The defense painted the Konstantin family as legitimate businessmen caught in a government overreach. Hardworking immigrants who built success and were now being destroyed by circumstantial evidence and a bitter former employee seeking revenge. The prosecution told a different story. A story of violence, corruption, money laundering, and organized crime. A story of countless victims. A story of a young woman brave enough to stand against power and demand justice. Elena Volkov could have stayed silent. The lead prosecutor told the jury. She could have run away forever, living in fear. Instead, she fought back. She gathered evidence. She contacted authorities. She refused to let these criminals win. Her courage should inspire all of us. I sat in the courtroom, listening to my story being told, feeling surreal. For 2 years, I'd worked in shadows. Now I was being held up as a symbol. It felt strange, but also right. The jury deliberated for 3 days. On the 3rd day, they sent word they'd reached a verdict. The courtroom filled quickly. Media, observers, law enforcement, Families of victims. I sat in my usual spot, fifth row back. The Constantine family looked tense. Victor sat rigid, expressionless. Alexei fidgeted constantly. Dmitri stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. The judge entered. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have, Your Honor. On the charge of racketeering, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of money laundering? Guilty. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder? Guilty. 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 47 counts. Guilty on every single one. The courtroom erupted. People cheering, crying, hugging. The Constantine family sat in stunned silence. Dmitri finally turned and looked at me one last time. I held his gaze, unflinching. Then I smiled. Sentencing came 6 weeks later. Victor Constantine, 30 years in federal prison. Alexei Constantine, 25 years. Dmitri Constantine, 40 years. All without possibility of parole for at least 85% of their sentences. The judge was harsh in his remarks. You used violence, intimidation, and corruption to build a criminal empire. You hurt countless innocent people. You believed yourselves above the law. This court is proving you were wrong. Additional family members and associates received sentences ranging from 5 to 20 years. The Constantine crime family was destroyed. Their assets were seized. Homes, businesses, bank accounts, everything. It would all be liquidated to pay restitution to victims. After the sentencing, reporters swarmed me outside the courthouse. Miss Volkov, how does it feel to see justice served? What message do you have for other victims of crime? Are you afraid of retaliation? I stood on the courthouse steps, microphones surrounding me, cameras recording. I'm not a hero, I said clearly. I'm just someone who refused to stay a victim. For 2 years, I was afraid every day. But I channeled that fear into purpose, into action, into justice. What would you say to the Constantine family? I'd say that power built on fear and violence eventually crumbles. They thought they were untouchable. They were wrong. No one is above consequences. What's next for you? I smiled. I'm going home. I'm going to see my mother and sister. I'm going to rebuild my life. The Constantines took 2 years from me. I'm not giving them another day. The reporters asked more questions, but I was done. I walked down the courthouse steps toward where my mother and Anna were waiting. They'd come to Chicago for the sentencing, the first time we'd been together in over 2 years. My mother hugged me tightly, crying, I'm so proud of you, Elena. So proud. Anna hugged me too. You're the strongest person I know. I held them both, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. The media coverage was intense for about 2 months. I did a few select interviews, 60 Minutes, NPR, a major magazine profile. I wanted to control my own narrative, to make sure the story was told correctly. Then I quietly withdrew from public attention. I moved back to Seattle, the city where I'd rebuilt myself. It felt like home now. Marcus Webb wrote a book about the case, Silent No More, how one woman brought down Chicago's most powerful crime family. I cooperated with the project, wanting the full story told accurately. Agent Catherine Torres reached out to me about working with the FBI as a consultant on financial crime cases. You have a unique skill set, she told me. The ability to understand complex financial structures, combined with your personal experience with organized crime. We could use someone like you. I thought about it carefully. I'll consult on cases, I said finally. But I won't become a full-time agent. I've spent enough years living in the darkness of criminal enterprises. I want to build a normal life now. Fair enough. We'll call you when we need you. I also started working with victims advocacy organizations, speaking to people who'd experienced violent crime, helping them navigate the justice system, sharing my story, offering hope. One woman I spoke to, Amanda, had been assaulted by her ex-boyfriend. She was terrified to testify against him. He said he'd kill me if I talked, she whispered. I took her hand. I understand that fear. I lived with it for 2 years. But here's what I learned. Silence protects them, not you. Speaking up is the only way to take your power back. What if the system fails? What if he gets away with it? Then you fight harder. You gather evidence. You find allies. You don't give up. Because the alternative is living in fear forever, and that's not living at all. Amanda testified. Her ex was convicted and sentenced to 12 years. She sent me a message afterward. Thank you for showing me that victims can become survivors, and survivors can become fighters. That message meant more to me than any media coverage or public recognition. 3 years after the trial, I received an unexpected letter. It was from Dmitry Konstantin, postmarked from the federal Supermax prison where he was serving his sentence. My first instinct was to throw it away unopened, but curiosity won. The letter was surprisingly brief. Elena, I've had 3 years to think about what I did. To you. To others. To my own family's legacy. You were right. We built power on fear, and it eventually destroyed us. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that you taught me something. That consequences are real. That victims can fight back. That justice, even delayed, eventually comes. I will spend the rest of my life in prison. That's what I deserve. I hope you found peace. Dmitry, I read the letter 3 times. Was it genuine? Was it manipulation? I'd never know for certain. I wrote a single sentence in reply. I have found peace. I hope someday you find the same. I sent it, then filed the letter away. Some chapters need closing, even if the closure is imperfect. My mother asked me once, about a year after the trial, do you regret it? All those years of planning, hiding, preparing? Do you wish you'd just moved on with your life? I thought carefully about her question. No, because if I'd just run away and tried to forget, I'd have spent the rest of my life afraid. Afraid they'd find me. Afraid they'd hurt you or Anna. Afraid that somewhere, they were still hurting other people. This way, I took my power back. I made sure they could never hurt anyone again. But at what cost? 2 years of your life. 2 years that taught me I'm stronger than I ever imagined. 2 years that gave me purpose. I don't regret them, Mom. I value them. She hugged me. Then I'm glad. Not for what you went through, but for who you became. Today, 5 years after I first disappeared from Chicago, my life is stable and purposeful. I run a consulting business helping companies identify financial fraud. I work with the FBI on complex organized crime cases. I speak at conferences about financial crime prevention. I have a small apartment in Seattle with a view of the water. I have friends. A life. Peace. My mother and Anna visit twice a year. We're closer now than we've ever been. Sometimes people recognize me from the media coverage. They want to talk about the case, about my courage, about justice. I'm polite but brief. That chapter of my life is closed. Last month, I received a message from someone who'd read Marcus's book about the case. Miss Volkov, your story inspired me. I've been silent about something terrible for 3 years. Reading what you did gave me the courage to finally speak up. Thank you. Messages like that remind me why I fought. Not just for myself. For everyone who's ever been told to stay silent. Everyone who's been threatened into compliance. Everyone who's been made to feel small and powerless. Revenge, I learned, isn't just about destroying your enemies. It's about refusing to let them destroy you. It's about taking back your power, your voice, your life. It's about transforming from victim to survivor to fighter. The Konstantin family thought that night in the warehouse would break me. They thought fear would keep me silent forever. They were wrong. I didn't stay silent. I didn't stay broken. I didn't stay afraid. I came back stronger, smarter, more dangerous than they ever imagined. And when I stood in that courtroom watching their empire collapse, when I saw them sentenced to decades in prison, when I walked out into sunlight as a free woman while they were led away in chains, that wasn't just justice. That was revenge. The cold, patient, perfectly executed kind. The kind that doesn't just destroy empires. The kind that proves survivors can become conquerors. The kind that says, "You tried to erase me, but instead, I erased you." And that's the best revenge of all. The end.